Alright guys, I'm Rabea.
And I'm Matt.
And this sounds like on Andertons TV. So today is going to be a pretty good one, I think.
I think this is going to be a rather exciting one.
A band that goes back a long way for both Matt and myself, but also for most people in modern rock music.
It's a band called Aerosmith.
Oh, Aerosmith.
They're like the American Rolling Stones, can I say that?
I guess you could go as far as to say, because they came from way back when with the whole rock and roll, bluesy rock and roll thing, and then came into that hair metal era with the kind of like big gang vocals, and Steven Tyler's an absolute ledge.
He is, and
but we're not going to sound like Steven Tyler, are we?
We're not even going to try, I don't think. Yeah, so we're going to try and sound like Brad Whitford and Joe Perry. Joe Perry being like Mr. Lead guitarist, and Brad Whitford more of a rhythm guy. Both great guitarists, both kind of like got that classic rock kind of blues style.
But it can go gainy when it needs to.
It can indeed.
We've watched loads of live videos just to double check our references, and you know it ranges from classic gains to really quite high gain. So, but it's all in the realms of British crunchy gain, isn't it?
That's it. And in terms of gear, I mean, there's some re-rundowns out there, as most of you might know, for both guitarists, and I think it's another one of those. They've been around for so long. There's a kind of like a classic image in my head, at least, and I know you've been saying the same. But they've used everything.
They've used everything.
Everything, and even now use just a load of different gear and change the gear really often.
Yeah. But we should go and find out if we can get some gear that's going to replicate similar elements and then ultimately sound like Aerosmith for a budget of £1,500 each.
Let's go do.
As Matt just said, we looked all over the place with rig rundowns, rig documents, all that kind of stuff we could find on the internet, and also just knowing a bit about the band. A lot of them, both Joe Perry and Brad Whitford play a lot of Les Pauls, a lot of Strats, some funky guitars,
335s, all sorts.
Les Pauls, I reckon.
But I think it's Les Paul standards.
Yeah. Because, I mean, as we've discovered from time to time, you can get American Les Pauls for, actual Gibsons for like 500, 550, 600, 650, so good for our budget.
We hate this dilemma, really, because it is quite a classic sound, and when it's a twin guitar classic sound, it can be quite a close rig to other people.
Yeah, you can pretty much guess the kind of things we're going to have to get, but really it's about sounding like it.
It is. Let's go find some Les Pauls.
Yep. Recently, and seen Joe Perry had kind of a signature Les Paul that came out a couple of years back, and although I don't think it's available at Andertons, there is a guitar that I spotted that looks very similar, and it's this over here. So this is a Gibson Les Paul CM. It's £499. It's made in America. It's the full fat Gibson Les Paul. And it's quite a similar look, because Joe Perry's was gloss black with one pickup and a trem. This is satin black, one pickup and a hardtail. So I mean, it's pretty close. It's thin. It's a two-piece mahogany body, mahogany neck, made in 2016. I reckon it could be good.
I mean, that is obviously not. For some of you who might have seen his like Tiger Stripes Les Paul, that's kind of like classic Joe Perry.
Yeah.
The one with the woman on the end, the white
Billy.
one. Yeah, Billy.
Yeah.
Again, really classic. I think this is one that we've seen. It's a bit of a more recent model.
Okay, there's a Les Paul Studio for $5.99, which looks really good.
There we go. Yeah, it's like a natural satin.
That's lovely.
Nice red stain on the neck and body. That might be a go for. To be fair, for either of them, to be honest. If we're looking for a kind of a nice Les Paul to do the job.
Yeah. £600.
I'm not sure what spec it's based on, but we'll have a look.
Which one?
Which one do you think?
You can't flip the question back round.
I can. I don't want to answer the question.
Which one?
It's a toss-up between something that he had more recently that he's less famous for to something that he's more famous for.
Because it sounds like and not looks like.
Well, if he's more
Sounds
famous,
like, looks like.
Well, there you are.
Obviously, for all the fans of Aerosmith, that you've heard a lot of their records and you know the kind of guitar tones they get.
Yes.
One would assume it's a British amplifier.
Yes.
Crunchy, but it's got that pushed front end sound.
So, back in day, both of them I think used vintage Marshalls.
JMPs.
Yes, all that kind of business. Brad Whitford now plays a lot of Three Monkeys amps.
Which to me sound like slightly hot-rodded different takes on British Marshall amps. They look even very similar.
Okay, well in that case, then we need to find a classic Marshall sound.
Well, there's that as well as the fact that Joe Perry uses JMPs and old Plexis. So there's like a load of stuff. I mean, to be honest, they're that famous and that rich, they can just use whatever they want. So that's kind of how it is. So we're just trying to find specific song sections. They do use clones in the front end, both of them do.
True story.
So we'll get a couple of J-Rad Archers maybe a bit of reverb, bit of chorus. So really, amps wise, what do we do? Do we go Marshall, DSL?
Marshall,
or do we go
DSL.
Black Star? Or do we go...
Is this... Well, I guess the Black Stars have the British thing going on.
Yes, they do.
The ISF, Infinite Shape Control, British to American little...
We got Egnator Tweaker.
Roll, yeah, we could use that.
Or we got the Rebel, we could try, which we've not used before.
Why don't we have a little... Let's go into something new.
Okay, should we go new grounds? Both of us or one of us?
Both of us or one of us?
I think you should take one for the team.
You want me to... As in, take the DSL? Okay.
Okay, so with the Rebel is a much simpler version of the Tweaker. It does similar stuff. It's not as high gain, but it's in the same vein. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. What do you do?
Okay, so for Brad Whitford, in an attempt not to use DSL like over the top completely as we've done already, as we could continue to do forever, I'm going to try the PV Classic 20 head and cab set, which is, you can hear in the background here. Right now it sounds a little bit more high gain than what we need, but I'm told from good sources that it might just get us close.
Nice. So obviously I'm using the Marshall DSL-40, but both of us are going to use J-Rad Archers in the front, because I'm not going to be using the DSL for its high gain, because we're trying to get classic tones. So crunch, put the G7 in for a little bit of extra EQ, and then the J-Rad to push the front end, and that should get us our clean, sort of Britishy, vintage rock and roll crunches.
We hope.
So let's try it.
Let's go and give it a go.
We're back in the video room.
We are.
Yes, we are. I've got a coffee.
We are. I have one too, actually.
Yeah.
We're both digging the coffees today.
Matt's got the Andertons mug, I've got the red mug, but that's not the point. The point is we have the gear in front of us and behind us to sound like Aerosmith.
Yep, and it's been a good one, actually, and again, trying to stay away from the obvious has kind of panned out quite well, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, I embraced the obvious, whereas you went for something a little bit different.
I did.
Where there are similarities, there are also very different things going on.
Yeah, so we've tried to kind of capture a really nice, classic kind of British Marshall sound, really. I mean, if you listen to early Aerosmith recordings, particularly the first couple of albums, not only is Steven Tyler's voice very different, but the guitar sound is it just sounds older. Yeah. But the newer, like, produced stuff, you can obviously tell more of what the amps are doing.
Yeah. They go for quite oddball sounds a lot of the time, particularly, like, there's one of my favourite ever Aerosmith songs is called Beyond Beautiful.
Oh, that's
and
great.
When you listen to all the little guitar sounds going on all over the place, it's like...
Have you heard the orchestral version?
I've not heard the orchestral version.
Oh, mate, you should check it out.
Nice, I'm definitely going to check that out. But it's one of those things where we sort of went and looked online, we looked at live videos, listened to our favourite records, and it was kind of working out what's the common ground.
What's the common thread? What can we do to achieve it all? Yeah, and as we said before, they've been around so long and there's so much footage of them playing live. Should we start, like, run through what the staple setup is?
Let's run through.
We've gone for.
I'll go first. So I'm playing a Gibson Les Paul It's kind of well, so it's like a tobacco burst, two-tone tobacco burst, and again, it's the sort of 50s tribute series, I believe. And we've used it a couple of times, and it's always been a great guitar.
It has seen some use, but yeah, I mean, it's a small selection for that money in the Gibson range. But
well, this is $650, which is a bargain if you ask me. What about your guitar? What you got?
I am going for similarly a regular, like a proper Gibson. This is the Les Paul Studio.
It's lovely.
In this natural kind of red satin finish, mahogany neck and body. Yeah, and again, it's full on USA.
And that was 600, right?
This was 600, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm running into the Marshall DSL-40C, and I've got the vintage looking one. There's nothing different about the internals, it's just the way it looks, it's different. And it kind of, I think we looked at a rig rundown of Joe Perry's rig, and he's got a couple of old school JMPs, and the cabs and the cloth on the cabs and everything looks just like this DSL-40. So I'm like, well, I know it's not about looking like, but again, it's so bang on, it's authentic.
Yeah.
But I knew that the sound of the DSL isn't great for really old school British sounds. You know, it's not got that old fluffy kind of fatness to it.
It's a modern amplifier as well.
So I got myself a Boss G E7 EQ pedal to sort of tame that, and also to push some of the mid-range, because I've noticed Joe Perry's sort of main guitar sound is quite almost verging on the realms of that wah mid-range going on. What is this amp, Matthew?
This is the PV Classic 20.
We've never seen it on Sounds Like before.
We've never used it. But yeah, this is the Classic 20. It's got V30s in this cab. In fact, it's a 1x12, so only one of them. But a 20-watt valve head. This is a little bit more expensive than I'd usually go for. But in terms of, I guess, just trying something new, I thought it'd be a good shout. It's about 800 for the full half stack.
Yeah.
But it sounds great. And on the floor, though, we've got exactly the same setup.
The Archer.
The Archer.
And we didn't mention it before. We've used the J-Rad Archer on a sound like John Mayer ages ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago now.
And it's basically a Klon Centaur. It's just a modern built one, but there's no real difference. They've just tried to replicate the Klon Centaur. And we noticed that both Joe Perry and
Brad Whitford
had a Klon in their signal path. So we thought, well, that's going to get us even closer. So this is the crunch channel. So that's actually quite nice.
It is quite nice.
It's quite soft. I've backed off the gain a bit on the crunch, but if I then throw in the EQ, it's kind of softer a bit.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more hackable, you know.
Have you backed off the level as well on the EQ?
Yeah, ever so slightly.
Right.
My EQ, I've got everything's at Unity except for around sort of the mid-range, so 1.6 to 3.8K is just boosted a bit. And depending on the song, I have pushed the high end right up, because some of his tone's really tinny, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably from some of the leady
like
stuff.
Like on Cryin, the intro to Cryin was really bitey. Anyway, if I throw in the Archer, I'll take off the EQ, and this is without the Archer, and then push it in.
it sounds
that.
awesome. These are really, really good, these things.
Yeah.
And they are a little bit more expensive again, about £150 each. But I think if you're looking for a really staple rock, like quality tone, they're a really good addition.
Anyway, Matt, let's have a listen to your rig.
Okay, so yeah, as I said, Les Paul Studio into the PV. Sounds a bit like this. Let's go EQ first.
That's lovely.
I would have never said until quite recently that an EQ pedal would do that much to like a valve amp.
Well, because you've got the extra boost on the side, and I think you get how much in the boost?
It's a level control.
Up to 15 dB boost.
Yeah, so I've only got it on really slightly. And then sticking on the Archer.
That is awesome. That is really crystal clear, transparent, kind of just out crunchy gain, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes it a bit warmer, I think, rather than just being like all out in your face. This warms it up a lot.
That's the beauty of the Archer. It's more of a subtle kind of just adds to it. It just really rounds everything off. Gives it more of a, not an antique-y sound, just more of an analog warmth to it. I don't know.
Well, it makes it sound more expensive, I think, you know.
But that's the rigs, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing else going on here. We got no other pedals.
No.
You know, I know both guys use like they use the TC Hall of Fame, the reverbs.
Yeah,
and all that stuff,
more recently, definitely they used loads of TC gear.
I think what we've both fallen in love with the GE7 is that you got so much more versatility in any rig that you get because you've got a full parametric EQ to mess around with and really shape everything.
Of course, yeah, and I mean, it just does so much, you know.
Yeah.
So I think, given how good it sounds, I think any guitarist really should chuck an EQ pedal in their rig. Because you can do so much.
I agree.
Mean, we could give you a whole demo on an EQ pedal, but we won't.
The Boss GE7.
Get one.
Anyway, that is Sound Like Aerosmith without busting the bank.
Do you know what I've done?
What have you done?
Completely smashed my budget.
Have you?
Yeah, completely ruined it.
Really?
Well, to be honest, this amp, I mean, I'm not sure that they do a combo version.
You saved 50 on that.
I saved 50, but then I added like 250.
Did you?
Yeah.
Right.
The head's 500 on its own, and the cab's about 320, I think.
Right. So 820 plus 6. 1320.
Yeah, plus that.
1420, 15, £1,600.
Yeah, I'm only about 100 over, so it's not bad. But for those DSL haters, this gives you something else to buy.
There you go.
If you don't want one, can't get one.
Yeah.
These are great. The PV Classic 20. So check them out.
If you're interested in any of the gear, if you want to look at it further, we'll put all the links in the description box below for all the gear we've used today.
Yep, check that out. And as always, let us know how you think we did. Let us know who you'd like to see next. We've still got a ton of really iconic guitarists left and a ton of new bands, old bands, everything. So yeah,
I hope you've enjoyed. And on that note, I've been Matt.
I've been Rabea.
And this has been Sounds Like on Andertons TV.
Peace.